it's Tina Logassi here from Heirloom Designs, and we're going to start on part 3 of my Belle Époque Bunny tutorial, and this one's focusing on her little accent pieces and what kinds of things we can incorporate into the bunny figure to make her unique and different. So you can see on this one, this is a green one that I did, and I don't know if you can see, but she's got some green bloomers. I don't have her bottom plate attached yet just because it's sometimes easier to work without on. So I'm just going to leave that off for now. And I'm going to run through a few things that I've done with her. So she has a ribbon around, which I've knotted, which I've made a bow at the back with. She's got some extra ribbon running down the front instead of buttons. And she's got this neat little, this was just a vintage earring that I found at the thrift store. So now I've turned that into a bit of a brooch for her. So because I've started with that, kind of silver is my theme. So I'm not sure what else I can use in here, but I've got this really cute butterfly brooch that I can maybe, I was thinking there might be a bit too much, or maybe on her hand as though like she's got a butterfly on there. And I've got this little mini kind of clock tower just as an interesting little piece. I have this other one, but I think I prefer this because it is in the silvers they're talking about. And I've got our hat. So this hat is what I'm going to start with, and just show you that I've got, these are dried florals that I've sprayed with the it's a triple thick glaze, and I will link the product below, but it really works well. You'll still get ones that break off, but it really helps preserve these. And afterwards, you might even give the whole hat a final spray with that stuff. It's really quite remarkable what it can do. So I think I'm just going to finish this one off. So these floral pieces are just glued on. And I think this one, I'm just going to do up here, kind of to continue that on, or maybe along there. Let me see. I've added this little butterfly. It was off of another piece of paper. So I'm probably going to put this ribbon on first, and we're going to continue a bit more floral stuff around there. So another idea for stuff on the hat, as I mentioned in the other video, you could use like kind of rusty keys, or just found object keys that you can get at the craft store. Feathers, used these before and they work really well. A good place to look for found objects is definitely the thrift store. I find a lot of stuff in the jewelry area. You'll find small charms, or some, even like a necklace that you might decide to pull apart and get various smaller objects from that. And other places, Michael's, or your local craft store, they'll have miniatures and whatnot that you can use. So I've got a few more little pieces I want to put on this hat. These dried florals I got from a friend of mine. Her company is Petal Pusher, and she does these beautiful dried floral bouquets and wreaths. And I said, well, when you have little bits that fall to the ground, I think I have a way to use those little pieces. So she gave me these ones to try out on my little hats, and I think they're coming out really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. And remember, with the top hat, the smaller section is what goes at the front. Okay, so her hat is on. I'm going to fiddle with locking it into place afterwards. I'll probably add a bit of glue when I'm finally finished the figure. But for now, we are going to move on and decide. So I actually liked that idea. I think I'm going to put a butterfly on one hand, and then under her arm, got this wheat from my friend Courtney, and I think doing that up in a bit of a bouquet, seeing if I've got other pieces of it. There's something like that. How pretty would that be? And the question is, it's pretty. I think I'm going to tie this together, and then I'm going to give it a final spray coat downstairs, which is where I've been spraying everything because it's been too cold to do it outside. And then on the other arm, I'm just going to stick this butterfly. Like, it's a pretty simple way to finish her, but okay, so for this piece of jewelry, because I don't want this being shown, I'm going to try to pull this off. And that happened very easily. And at this point, I'm probably just going to glue that in place on her hand. And then the other thing on her is simply about hanging this off of her waist, and I might do that with a chain. So I always keep little bits of, actually there's a piece of chain around from broken jewelry because I know that I'm gonna need it for something. All right, so hopefully you can see her. It's a bit awkward with the way my camera is set up, but she has a little butterfly on her hand here. She's got this little clock hanging down. This is gonna go in her arm like that, and she's got that nice top hat with the butterfly. So that is a very simple way of finishing off one of these bunnies. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is this one that I had done. Now she is going to be probably more flowers under her arm. For the fairy tale book, I have made some printables, free printables, for you to make these different Victorian children's books, and they've got a printed page on the inside. So click below, you can find the printable for there. It will link you to it, and then you just have to follow through my Harriet Hollow spell book tutorial, and yeah, then you've got your own little fairy tale books. These would also look cool if you were to not open them up, but actually have them flat like this and maybe stack a few together, tie them with a ribbon or something, and then have them in one of the bunny's hands, just as something else to consider. She's got this tilted hat that I was going to work with. And she can also have, I think that pocket watch will look nice on her. And I don't know if this will really go, whoops, but I also came across this little thing from an old necklace, Always in Love. That might also look nice on her. So we'll see how that goes. I've got her coloring. I'm keeping it more like kind of a vintagey, like I've got a lot of gold stuff. Actually, this would also look good on her too, right? So a few things to play with here. I'm going to start by finishing off this hat that I want to show you. So again, I've got dried flowers. I find that the hot glue works really good for the florals. All right, so I've got something like this for her hat. Okay, and you can always stop and pause and look. This hat, I'm just going to go ahead and glue it in place because then I can see better. This one, I'm not going to do a necklace on her because she's got this nice detail around her shirt that it would just kind of get lost anyways. So let's imagine this. You're going to have the book in her hands, and I'm thinking, again, some flowers under her arm, book in her hands, and then I'm actually now thinking I like this Love Always coming down from her waist. So that's how I'm going to proceed with that one. So I'm going to start, I'm going to use this ribbon that's got some writing on it. Okay, and I'm just going to glue that in a couple spots. Okay, so then that'll end up going in her arm, and this nice ribbon will be over top. And then now I'm going to stick in these little flowers because they don't have bases. So I'm just going to have to glue them. So she'll have that under there. And I'm thinking to attach it. I'll just use a ball of glue right underneath. Okay, and the next thing I want to attach is this Love Always. So I'm just going to figure out kind of where the end of this. This is a very fine chain. Like I've said before, you can make like a little hat box out of cardboard. There's lots of ideas for miniatures on YouTube. I have seen mini parasols. Any of those things would look great on these bunnies. So I've realized that if I put the book where I was thinking, I'm going to hide that, and I don't want it. So what I'm going to do is actually do the book. I'm going to put it on her just in the one hand, which will look just fine. And I've actually never gone through the spine before on one of these, so we'll see how that goes. I might not show you the whole thing on camera because it's really tricky even just to manipulate her to get the book on. And I always make sure I have a pair of needle nose pliers with me when I'm doing this. All right, I was just trying to find the spot, and I think it's about there that I want to try to get it to go. So that's about halfway up the book. And this will be interesting because, and with the books, you have to kind of be gentle but forceful at the same time with them. Okay, and that actually worked really well. I think I may have to, I'm probably going to tack it at the edge. So it's got kind of 2 points of contact. All right, so there she is, finished with a little book, a little charm on her waist, and another kind of a bouquet under her arm. So I am moving on to this bunny, and I'm just going to lay her down. I've got all the bunnies now are attached to their lower plaques, so it's easier to work with. So this one I've got a bit of a shawl on, and you see I finished the hat fairly simply. And now this one, I've decided she's gonna have a timepiece hanging off of her skirt, and I've got this cute locket that I'd gotten in like a grab bag of items from a thrift store. I strung on a piece of chain, and then I found this little image and I reduced it in size. I've made it so it would fit in here. So now the only thing I need to do is take my Dimensional Magic, which if this is something that you want to do, I've got a tutorial on it as well. I'm just going to make sure this, no, it's blocked again. When this gets blocked, the easiest way is to take a needle and reopen it. But I have a tutorial on how to make a spooky brooch with Dimensional Magic, and this is the exact same technique. So I'm just going to add that on top. This kind of creates a resin coating. There you go. So when that dries, it'll look like it's kind of behind a layer of glass, and it's pretty cool. So that means I won't put her necklace on till tomorrow, and you're actually not supposed to move this after you pour, so I'm just going to carefully move it somewhere where it can sit overnight, and it will dry clear and it'll look amazing. So while that's doing that, I've got this one that's going to be attached to her. I think I'll do this book. So that one, I'll probably have it up a little higher so you can actually see the nice front of that book on her. So she'll have that, and then she will have the locket. So I'm going to come back to this one and show you how she looks afterwards. But those books are a really nice addition to these dolls. I'm going to put those aside. All right, so again, she's attached to her board. And what I've got for her is I had this old jewelry box. Nothing, it was actually quite this bright lime green color, and I decoupaged the outside of it, and I put a little, this is just from the dollar store, like an applique piece, and this I was thinking would look cute like under her arm, like she's carrying a little gift package or something. And if you want to do like a hat box, I'm going to link below to a tutorial by another maker that looks promising and that you might want to investigate. Then I have this piece that I'm thinking about hanging off of her waist just for some interest. And I'm either going to do that or I'm going to put this at her waist. I kind of haven't decided that. The other thing I have is this cute old necklace. So you can see how I'm just like playing around and I decide what I think looks good. But I was thinking about having that around there. I really like that. So if I do that, I probably do not need to have something down here that'll get too busy. But this piece hanging off, we'll see if I go ahead with that. But those are some ideas for that one. And then the other one I'm going to do for her is this homemade parasol. So this one, again, I'm going to link below to it's a octagon, an octagonal shape There's a tutorial by another maker. Again, I will link you that below. And this was super easy to make. The only difference is my octagon is nicely sized for this size of doll, whereas that maker, she makes quite a small parasol. And instead of using a toothpick for the stem, I used in this version a bamboo skewer. And then I just took some findings just from the jewelry section and I put them on either end. And then the rest of the details you can just follow along in the tutorial. So I made this version, and then I made this other version that it's the same idea, except that this is actually a floral stem that's a similar thickness to the bamboo skewer. And I liked that because I was able to round it out and have this curve, so that can actually hang off of her arm. And then this one I added a little bit of added lace on there for that piece. So that is where we're at. I also have, this one might look better with this on it, but you can see how it's a lot of like playing and figuring out what you have around. And there's also this old piece of jewelry. Like I've debated, like I could also go with that. I actually spent a lot of time doing this, probably more than I should. But hopefully that gives you some ideas. So there's a few different, so you're going to have 2 printables below, one for the to make this parasol and a link to the tutorial, and there is a printable for the little books, for these little fairy tale books. And yeah, and then you've got the ideas of the flowers, the old jewelry, repurposing a little box maybe, or making a hat box. Yeah, the ideas are endless, and a lot of it's just what you come across and what you think will look nice on your bunny. I should also say this one I've got, I have a nice, she's also got a shawl on her. So that's what the shawl looks like. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. It's quite a quick one, but it's more just to give you ideas on how you can finish off these bunnies and really make them your own. Next up in 2 weeks, I will be diving into some felt, I don't want to say felt florals, but I'm actually going to start with some felt berries. So be sure to join me for that. And if you want to be notified when that video comes out, please hit the subscribe button below. But this just gives you an idea. Yeah, so be sure to like this, subscribe below, and I will see you in 2 weeks.